want to tell you something. I don't talk about this often. There was a version of me that I held on to way longer than I should have. A version that was loud, reactive, always in defense mode. A version that measured everything by what people thought, by who was watching, by whether I looked like I had it all together. A version that confused with being hard with being strong. And the crazy part, even when I started to grow past that version of myself, even when I could clearly see that he wasn't serving me anymore, I missed him. And I missed the certainty of him, the familiarity, the way people knew how to treat me when I was that guy. Because as painful as that version of me was, he was predictable. And as we all know, predictable feels safe, even when it's slowly killing me. The transition from who I was to who I was becoming, that in between was one of the hardest seasons of my life. Not because of the new direction, but because nobody prepared me for the grief of it. This is Sana I E. I'm EXO. And today we're going somewhere we haven't been this quarter one. And we've been all over the place. We got 1 week left of quarter one, then we head into quarter two, second wave series of episodes. We're going to finish quarter one out strong with a great topic. But that starts with today. We talked about building the new. Today, we're going to talk about what it costs to let go of the old. Oh, man, where do I start? Here's what the personal development world mostly gets wrong. It sells transformation, right? New mindset, new habits, new circle, new you, new version of yourself, new this, new that. And all that is real. But what glosses over a lot is that with every gain of growth that you have, there is a corresponding loss that comes with it. And losses need to be grieved as well, right? Even when the thing you're losing is hurting you. Psychologists actually have a language for this. There's a concept called identity disruption. What happens when who you are shifts significantly enough that your old sense of self no longer fits, but your new one hasn't fully settled in right. Are you at that point in your life? And if not, were you at that point before, or do you see yourself reaching that point soon? It's one of the three that you're in. And researchers describe it as a period of genuine psychological distress. Not weakness, not regression, distress. Because your brain is wired to protect the identity it knows, even when that identity is holding you back. Ain't that something? Researchers published in the Harvard Business Review found that when people undergo major identity shifts, whether that be career changes, personal reinvention, leveling up, many experience what researchers call identity paralysis, a feeling of being stuck between who they were and who they're trying to become. The old self doesn't disappear just because you decided to grow. It holds on. And if you've never been told that's normal, I'm here to tell you that's normal. You start to believe something is wrong with you, even when it's not. It's just you changing. And at the end of the day, nothing is really wrong with you. You're just elevating and evolving and growing. And this is a part of growth. You're in that middle spot. I want to say it's like a purgatory between the old you and the new you. You're trying to get to the new you, but the old you still trying to pull you back. I'm sure we all been there. And it's understanding, who do I want to go backwards or do I want to move forward? And that question is real. And another question is, what do you do with that pull backward? Because it is coming if it hasn't already. Oh man. No, I was there. I was there. I was there, man. And it's tough. And we're gonna get deeper into that. I want to name some things because I think a lot of us are experiencing the pull backward without recognizing it for what it is. Sometimes it looks like sabotage. We talked about self-sabotage earlier. You're on a streak, right? You're making good decisions, you're building momentum, and then out of nowhere, you blow it all up. Have you been there? You go back to the old behavior and you sit there afterward thinking, why did I do that? I knew better. But it wasn't stupidity. It was your old identity asserting itself, reasserting familiar ground. Sometimes it looks like guilt. You start making more money, moving in different rooms, leveling up your standards, and instead of feeling proud, you feel like a traitor, like you've abandoned where you came from. Like success is something you're supposed to be apologetic for. And that's what I went through. I was leveling up, I was making more money, I was getting into these rooms, but something internally made me feel like you don't belong here. Why are you here? It's all a facade. And sometimes it's the way we talk to ourselves when we do level up as well. It's understanding that we are our biggest supporters and we have to have that support as well as talk to other people about what's going on. Because self sabotage is real. And we eventually do it when we get to new heights that is unfamiliar to us because we don't know how to operate. And then when we get there, we do feel like a traitor to our old self, to who we were. Sometimes it looks like nostalgia for a version of yourself that was simpler, even if that simpler version was suffering. We romanticize the struggle sometimes. We get attached to the identity of the underdog. And then when we start winning, we don't know who we are without the fight. Man, I'm just reminiscing on my time. I'm grateful for the journey though, but man, it's always gonna be a journey. And sometimes this one hits different. It looks like the people around you are trying to pull you back, not because they're evil, because your growth disrupts the ecosystem. When you change, it holds a mirror up to everyone who hasn't. And some people will try, consciously or not, to keep you at the level they're comfortable with. Think about it. When you try to level up, grow, does your friends, family, peers support your growth, or did they try to bring you back down? And sometimes people outside of you don't want to grow. They'll say they want to grow or change, but at the end of the day, it takes action to really change, to become somebody new. So understand that, and always do some deep reflection too. Is like, are the people that around me pushing me forward or keeping me caged in? Social identity theory tells us that our sense of self is deeply tied to the groups we belong to. When we start outgrowing a group in mindset, ambition, and the way we move, we experience what researchers call social identity threats. The pull to stay where you're known, where you fit in, where you make sense is genuinely powerful. It is not weakness to feel it. It becomes a problem only when you let it make the decision. Keep it real. I feel all of this personally. When I started investing in myself, changing how I spend my time, my energy, moved away from different environments that really kept me comfortable, as well as some of the closest people that didn't know how to receive my change and my growth. And I'll be real, it cost me. It cost me. And you're like, man, I'm losing friendships. I'm losing out. You think about all the losses but you rarely think about the gains. Well, you think about the gains too, but you emphasize the losses more than the gains that you're getting. But it's understanding too, like with anything in life, you're gonna have to shed or lose the old to become new, to grow, to become who you're meant to be. But here's what I had to learn. I could honor where I came from without living there forever. And that's real. So let's talk about what's actually happening in your brain when you try to become someone new. Because I think understanding the mechanism helps you stop blaming yourself for the resistance. Psychologists who study identity change describe a three-stage process. You might want to get your pen and pad out for this one. The first stage is called separation. The moment you consciously or unconsciously begin to distance yourself from who you've been, your old beliefs, old habits, old environments start to feel like you don't fit in. This is uncomfortable. It is supposed to be uncomfortable. You're separating yourself from the old you and you're molding yourself into a new person. So it's getting uncomfortable with that and understanding, hey, I am going to be uncomfortable for the next 90 days, 6 months, year, because I'm growing into a whole new person. And then when I reach that point, I'm going to be uncomfortable again because I'm molding myself into a different person. So it's understanding that life of growth is all about uncomfortability or being uncomfortable. But let's talk about the second stage. The second stage is what they call liminality, the in between. Your old identity loosens its grip, but your new one hasn't fully formed yet. You're neither fully who you were nor fully who you're becoming. This is the most disorienting stage, and the one where most people turn back, not because they can't do it, because nobody told them the disorientation was a sign of progress, not failure. And the third stage is reintegration. The new identity starts to feel natural, your new way of thinking, moving up, showing up, and it stops feeling like a performance and starts feeling like you. And that version of you, the one on the other side of the in between, is not someone different. It is someone more fully yourself than you've ever been. And that's the best side to be. Once you finally get over that hurdle, that hump of the old you, the in between, now the new you. Once you get in that new you phase, you're like, okay, it really changes you internally and changes your mindset, changes your psychological build, where you're like, okay, I overcame those hurdles, overcame the uncomfortable stages. Now what's next? I can conquer damn near anything that I set my mind to. Research from the University of California found that identity is not fixed. It naturally evolves across life stages. The person you were at 22 was not meant to be the person you are at 35. Our values, priorities, and sense of self are designed to evolve. What feels like you're losing yourself is often the very process of finding yourself. The goal is not to resist the evolution, it is to navigate it consciously. Here's something that comforted me personally. Research on behavior change found that on average, it takes about 66 days for a new behavior to feel automatic. Not 21. I know that's a big thing, 21 days, but it's 66 days. And full identity integration, the point where the new you feels like the real you, can take months, sometimes longer. So understand that on your journey. That means if you've been doing the work and still don't feel natural, you're not doing nothing wrong. You are just not done yet. There's still more work to be done. The discomfort is not a verdict, it's part of the process. Oh, man. I guess it's the part I get personal, huh? I want to spend a minute on something that no one in the space talks about. And I think it's one of the most important things I can say today. You're allowed, turn this up. You want to turn it up on this one. You're allowed to grieve the old version of yourself. There, I said it. Even if that version was harmful, even if that version was holding you back, even if that version was not who you want it to be, not who you want to be now, but who you want it to be then. It's okay to grow and grieve that person because that version of you served a purpose. They got you here. They survived things that were hard. They protected you the best way they knew how with the tools they had at that time. And there's something worthy of acknowledgement in that, even as you move past it. For me, the version I had to let go was the one that learned to be unreachable, who wore detachment like armor because feeling things too deeply had cost me before. Easy to cut you off. Can't have the song and ain't nothing to cut somebody off. Hey, I was that. I've cut you off real quick in an instant. But then I had to learn grace. And letting that version go wasn't just about building new habits. It was about trusting that being open wouldn't destroy me. You know, as men, we hate to be open, vulnerable, emotional, all that jibber jabber. That being known was safe, that I didn't have to manage every interaction from behind glass. But that took time, no lie. It always takes time. Always a process. But there were days I missed. The days I didn't look at the gas, the days I didn't get grace. But I just had to find out, like, who did I want to become? Because who I am right now is who I need to be way back when. But now I need to become a whole different person. I'm evolving to somebody new. And I see it like this sometimes too. Well, not sometimes, but I see it as this. We all have birthdays. Every year you're supposed to elevate, evolve, and change. Every year, whenever your birthday is, you're supposed to grow and become a new person. It's like you're shedding the year before and transforming into a new year. So it's understanding too, when you get close to your birthday, whether you a month out, 2 weeks out, understanding, okay, who was I at this age and who do I want to become this next year of my life? What do I have to shed? What old habits do I want to let go? What good habits do I want to keep to move forward? So it's understanding that every year we're supposed to grow, but sometimes we don't grow. We live the same years over and over and over again. So some studies that I found, psychological research confirms that what most of us feel but can't name. Even when we consciously choose to grow, we experience a form of grief of our old identity. This is not a resistance to change. It is the natural human response to loss. And just like any grief, it cannot be skipped. It can only be moved through. The men who try to bypass the grief, who rush into the new identity without honoring the transition, often find themselves cycling back to the old behaviors months later, not understanding why. Hope that helps you understand. So, if you've been feeling the strange sadness when you realize you've outgrown something you used to love or someone you used to be or a place that used to feel like home, that is not regression. That is a price of becoming. And honestly, it's worth paying. Grieve it, honor it, and then keep it moving, keep pushing forward. All right, let's get into the practical side now, though, fellas, because I don't want to leave you in the feeling without giving you the framework. So you might want to get your pen and pads out. Let's talk about, or you still got your pen and pads out from the 3 stages that I listed out earlier. So let's talk about some practical action steps that you can do. Step 1, name the old version, not to shame him, to see him clearly. What did he believe about himself? What were the rules he operated by? What did the need that he was trying to get in unhealthy ways? Write it down if you need to. Get specific. You cannot let go of something you haven't fully acknowledged. Number 2, thank him for what he did. This is one might feel uncomfortable, but I'm serious about it. The version of you who was always on guard. He kept you in a safe environments where you needed to be on guard. The version who was performance driven to the point of burnout. He built real things. He produced. The version who disconnected from his feelings. He survived things that required disconnection. You don't have to like who he was to acknowledge that he served a purpose. The old you served a purpose for what you needed up to that point in time. We're always growing, we're always shedding, we're always becoming new versions of ourselves. Let go of the old you and start working on the new you. Step 3, define who you're becoming. Not who you think you should be, not who your parents wanted you to be, not who your friends wanted to be, not the version of success that looks impressive on the outside. The version that feels true to you. What does he value? How does he move through the world? What does he refuse to compromise on? This is who you are building toward. Keep that image clear. Number 4, protect the transition. The in-between is the most vulnerable point. I'll say that again. The in-between is the most vulnerable point. Guard it, be intentional about who has access to you during the season. Not every moment is safe for a man in the middle of becoming. Not every voice deserves a front row seat to your growth. It's not arrogance, it's discernment. One of the most powerful findings in identity change research is this. Identity shift is more durable when it is witnessed. When someone who matters to you sees you as a new version. When they reflect that new identity back to you consistently, it accelerates integration. This is part of why brotherhood work from the last episode is not separate from this one. Your circle is not just support, they're part of who you're becoming. And step 5, give it time, man. 66 days for a habit to form. Months for identity integration. Maybe longer for the full integration. Stop measuring your transformation in weeks, in days, in hours. Start getting comfortable with delayed gratification. That's what it really comes down to. Because in the era we're now in right now, everybody loves instant gratification. But there's a reason why it takes 66 days to form that new habit, because you're going to go through ups and downs. You're going to go through days where you want to do the old you, or where you give in to your old self. And there's days where you're fighting to become your new self. So it's understanding those 66 days really shape your mind through that journey to see if you're still going to pull forward to who you want to become, or you're going to slowly regress back to the old you. But the work you're doing right now, this quarter 1, we got one more week into quarter 2. You plant the roots. It's like planting a tree. Roots don't show up overnight. You got to plant the seed first and keep watering the soil on a daily basis. Continuously taking care of your garden. But that's all I can say. But I do want to pull the thread on something before we close. Look at everything we've been doing this whole quarter. We started by asking who you are versus who you were told to be. We talked about imposter syndrome, that feeling of not deserving what you're feeling, or what you're building, what you're creating. I've been there. Imposter syndrome is so real. That's one of the most impactful episodes, and self-sabotage. And then we got into discipline, about how to build it without destroying yourself in the process. We challenged the timelines of other people's that they put on your life. We confronted self-sabotage and what it actually is, which is the old self trying to keep you safe by keeping you small. We talked about the isolation that comes with leveling up. We talked about setting boundaries and growing without losing your core. We addressed the pressure to provide and what it does to a man's sense of worth. We went into the emotional intelligence as power And last week, we talked about the brothers you need around you as you build. Every single one of those conversations was at its root about this right here: the tension between who you were and who you're becoming. That is a real word. Not information, not motivation, identity. The slow, sometimes painful, sometimes disorienting process, becoming more fully yourself and releasing everything that does not belong to that version. Psychologist Dan McAdams spent decades, decades studying what he calls narrative identity, the way we build and rebuild our life story as we grow. His research found that the men who thrive through transitions are not the ones who reinvent themselves completely. They're the ones who find continuity, who take the best of who they were and carry it forward into who they're becoming. The goal is not to destroy the old self, it's to integrate them. You're not starting over, you're building on. You're becoming more, not different. And that distinction matters because it means nothing you have lived through has been wasted. The hard seasons, the wrong turns, the version of you that didn't work out, all of its material, all of it informs the man you are building now. Don't leave it behind. Carry it consciously. Time to land this plane. Somewhere in your life right now, there is a version of you that is ready to be released. A belief that no longer fits you. A pattern that served you once and now is no longer serving you. A role that you've been playing that belongs to who you were, not who you're becoming. I'm not asking you to abandon him. I'm asking you to look at them honestly, thank him for what he did, and then with intention, with gentleness, and with full acknowledgement that this takes time. I'm not asking you to loosen your grip on him, because the version of you on the other side of this transition, he's not a stranger, he's not a fantasy. He is the most honest version of yourself you've ever been. And he's been waiting patiently throughout it all for you to make room. So make that room for him. That is the work, not the highlight reel, not the wins you post. This right here, the quiet, private, sometimes painful, but always worthwhile work of becoming. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're not too far gone. And you're not in the middle of something. You're not in the middle of something. You are in the middle of something real. And the fact that you're still here, still listening, still doing the work, man, that's where it comes down to, continuously doing the work, because the work never stops, especially on yourself. You're going to be working from the day you're born to the day you die. The work will never stop unless you stop yourself and you stop working on yourself. But the work never stops becoming the best version of yourself. Man, with that being said, man, enjoy your week. Got 1 week left of quarter one, and then we're going to jump into quarter two. This is Sana. I-E. I'm EXO. Thank you for trusting me on your journey. With that being said, man, share the show, subscribe, like, leave comments, leave reviews. If you listen to Apple Podcasts, leave a review on there. If you like, man, I did not like this show at all, hey, leave a review. Let me know how I can improve. But if you love this episode, you feel like it helped you out, let me know as well. I appreciate y'all. Check out the website, sanaie.com. It'll be in the show notes. Subscribe anywhere you subscribe. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for subscribing. Leave a comment on there on the YouTube. With that being said, man, love y'all. Appreciate y'all. I'll see ya next week. Peace.